Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the 13th Dimension. And tonight, um, I've got a very special guest with a topic that we normally don't discuss on this show. And I'm really looking forward to this. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nancy Thames.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Whenever I get a chance to talk about something different, I really look forward to it because now I get to shut up and I get to learn.
Yeah, and for me, I had to suppress this for so long, and now I get to talk about my favorite subject, and I just absolutely love it. So, yeah,
And that's what makes it all the better. Uh,
yes,
I have heard a lot of people, they talk a little bit here and there about interdimensional beings, but nobody has, as far as I can tell, nobody has really been able to um, talk intelligently about it. I think it's more just of speculation and theory. But
yeah.
from what I've been seeing, hi Charles, from what I have been seeing um, from your post and your website is like you seem to really know a lot about this subject.
I really do. It is my life. I've been doing this since for 64 years. I'm 64 years old, and my first conscious memories start back at like 2 or 3 years old. And for me, it's physical face to face contact, which means I hold hands, I embrace, they embrace me, I touch their skin, they touch mine. And it's a really beautiful thing. And throughout my life, due to it, the environment around me and my age and my spiritual growth, it kind of has changed for me. So when I was really young, I was not scared, and nothing had influenced me to think any differently. So it was what it was, and it was real, and it was fun. I look forward to it, and it really wasn't until I got to about junior high through high school. At this point, I was going to school. I had already been told by my parents that I couldn't talk about subjects like this. I grew up in the deep South. I grew up in Tennessee. I now live in Mississippi. And these things are considered one of two things, either demonic or a mental health issue. So my parents said, you cannot talk about these things. It will not be well received. So my family was very active in the community, and of course, I didn't want to get a spanking or anything because, that's just something when your daddy tells you not to do something, you don't do it, because back
Yep.
in those days, they believed in giving spankings. It's not like it is now. So, I learned to suppress it. It kept peace within my family, and it kept peace. And I was able to be just like any other girl going to school and stuff. But the thing about it is, there was lots of things that I just simply didn't understand. For one, as I got older, they were coming to get me. And when I say they always use the interdimensionals, and the tall grays created a gray hybrid that's not gray. She's reddish brown. And grays always travel in parties of three, and the female I am bonded with, and I feel like I've been with her. Well, I know that I've been with her in like past lives. She's always been with me. Whatever my soul decides to experience, she comes with me. So she's always who takes me back and forth. And basically, what she does is she comes and gets me wherever I am, whether I'm in bed or if I'm in a chair or standing, whatever. And especially when I was younger, they would change my human frequency. All of us have a frequency. Humans, our frequency is very low compared to what extraterrestrials or interdimensionals are. So when I would come, I would wake when I would be when they would come into my room, manifest into the room, then they would approach me, and they would take a handheld device, and she would run it up from head to toe to head, and do this over a few minutes. And then eventually my body would start to levitate like off the bed, and I would be holding her hand. And if I was standing, I would start to float up off the ground, and she would be holding my hand. And then she would lead me up through the ceiling, which we would go through the attic. And I can remember looking around at like all the boxes that my family had in storage, Christmas decorations, etc. And the insulation, whatever was up around the walls, because it was in my homes, it was never finished. It was just attic space, storage space. So, and I remember always thinking, especially as I got older, how in the world is this happening? Because at school, humans aren't able to do this. But as I've gotten older and I've spent along a lot of experiences with them, and I've learned to have more conscious time while being fully awake while I'm with them to communicate. And they explained to me what they were doing is they were changing my human frequency to match their frequency. And when they got me to their frequency, then I could travel up through the roof or through a window or through a door, just like they did. So, it sounds really strange, and a lot of people will shake their head, but it's real. I can't tell you how many times I'd look down just to make sure I wasn't still in the bed, that it wasn't a dream. And it was very real occurrence. And
Not
they're
an
just,
out-of-body experience.
no, I've had those before. I know what those are. This is totally different. When you're out of body, you're not in a full physical form. You're kind of like a etheric version of yourself, and there's always an attachment to, like from your body, or like your soul. There's a type of attachment. Wow, the computer just did something. Can you even see me?
Well, you have frozen, but can still hear you clearly.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you know, and also, I would like start touching myself and things of this nature just to make sure it's real. It was very real because, and I would look at her and ask her, "Is this real?" And she would nod to me, yes. So it's quite unusual. And as I've gotten older, they still sometimes do it that way, but now they have my frequency at a higher level, and it's more of a teleport type thing that they do with me. And most of the time they black me out for that, to be honest with you, because it's just it's extreme vertigo and extreme dizziness, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think I could physically and mentally handle it, to be honest with you. So usually now I wake up on craft, or I wake up and they're walking me back to the bed, but I can still feel that extreme vertigo. So, yeah.
So
So,
the interdimensional beings here, um, would would that basically be what a lot of people are seeing, in terms of like the paranormal experiences that we have when people think they see a ghost, or when people think that they are seeing alien beings, or is this something that is totally separate but not taking the place of?
interdimensionals are separate beings. They are of a higher dimension than just regular extraterrestrials. They look quite differently, and I can kind of give you an example to kind of explain that to you why they do, because I asked these questions. You know, we can see grays, we can see Nordics, we can see all these different beings, and they're in a physical form. Interdimensionals are more of a luminescent, they're like 7 to 8 foot tall, and they're more luminescent, almost opaque, kind of like, but you can, and they have some features that look kind of human, but they're definitely not human. And the way they explained it to me, like why they look different, they told me, of course, they say we're of a higher frequency, which means a higher dimension. And by the way, dimensions are not physical places, it's higher levels of consciousness. So the way they explained it to me is that if they took you and they took me, they teleported us back to biblical days, back in the days of the Bible, to the we're going back like we are right now to their time frame. Okay. And this is back in the day where they did talk about the shining ones. It's in the Bible. They've talked about shining ones. So the way they explain it to me, if you and I manifested in front of them and walked around in front of them, we would appear to those people as the shining ones. So what they're saying is we're on a DNA ladder and we're going up this ladder, traveling up. And what we're doing is going through an evolutionary process. And, they seem shining to us because they are of a higher frequency and a higher dimension. And that's why they look different, because they're even a higher dimension and frequency than just regular extraterrestrials. So in their frequency, for I want to say this too, for me, it has never been what they look like. For me, it is the frequency exchange between a human being and an extraterrestrial or interdimensional. The difference is so big, so different, that our brains, when we're face to face with them, our brains does not know how to understand it or comprehend it. And the only thing that I can kind of compare to what it feels like is it's a combination of extreme fear and extreme euphoria, a combination. And your brain simply does not know how to react to this. So, naturally, fear pops into a human's mind, because this goes way back in our DNA from our caveman days, where everything in the world that we didn't know or was bigger than us or we didn't understand was a predator. So we go back to that mentality when we're face to face with one of these beings. And so when that happens, interdimensionals and extraterrestrials, everybody knows they're telepathic. Well, also, because of them being telepathic and they know everything we're thinking, they can also feel everything we're feeling. So when we feel extreme fear, extreme panic, extreme anxiety, extreme anger, all these things, these are not emotions that they have in their reality. And they just simply don't have like any type of negative emotions or anything. So they really, not only do they not understand why we're feeling like we're feeling, but I mean, they do understand that we're scared, but in their reality, they don't experience that. So they really don't like the feeling of it. So what they'll do is they'll black people out into like a trance type state. And this is why a lot of people come back and say after an experience that they've had that they have missing time or fragmented memories. And that's because they really don't like that feeling and frequency they get off the human being. So they will just simply black you out. And that way you still go through the whole experience. But the problem with that is when you come back and you become fully conscious, you can't remember the whole event. And so our brains will automatically say, oh, wow, where have I been? I'm missing time. And sometimes it will try to fill in all that missing time. It'll try to fill it in. And the last thing they remember is being extremely scared, extremely in fear. And so, due to our programming from the day we're born, or whatever influences we've had in our life, a lot of times that will influence our perception of the whole experience. And a lot of people, especially people my age and older that have experienced this for long periods of time, have worked through the fact that in order to truly understand what this all means and the purpose, you've got to learn to face the fear. You have to face the fear and push through the fear. And then that way you'll stay conscious and you'll learn to control your fear. And then you truly understand the whole purpose of the interactions between extraterrestrials and human beings and interdimensionals and human beings.
There's a lot of people over the past, I don't know, 7, 8 decades who
Yes.
reported lost time and
Yes.
this and that.
Yeah. And you hear a lot of horror stories, and their stories are real. They truly experienced extreme fear, and whatever they think they experience, it's real to them. And I understand this. Extraterrestrials and interdimensionals understand this. But the reality is, as we get older, as we become more wiser, our intelligence will help us to understand that our perception sometimes at the time that something happens will change with just with time, with time. And what they tell me, and, of course, I want to be able to help people that's had these extreme fears because it's real. It is real, you know. But what they tell me is that we are going through an evolutionary ascension, a process. All of human beings are. And a lot of these questions and a lot of these fears and all of these things will kind of be answered in the fact that we're all, a lot of people are just waiting around for the government to say, hey, yeah, ET is real, extraterrestrials are real, interdimensionals are real. However, I think that they put out enough evidence. Anybody that does a little research and has some intelligence understands we're not alone in the universe. We wouldn't be having all these congressional hearings, etc. So that's pretty evident. But for the ones that still want that, you know, I think that they know what I know. They know that we're going through an evolutionary process, and as long as we've been in this 3D realm, we can only understand the world around us with our five senses. Well, as we move from the 3D realm up into the fourth and fifth dimension, like I said, are not physical places, it's higher levels of consciousness, higher intelligence. Our awareness will expand. We'll start to understand more about our world. We're going to figure out that just because we can't see certain things doesn't mean that there's not life going on all around us. Scientists have already been putting out the information that our planet Earth is a living conscious being. Plants, trees, insects, animals, everything, they're all living conscious beings.
Mhm.
And what the extraterrestrials, interdimensionals want us to understand is that we are all one and we are all connected. And what that means is that when we were created, everything else on this planet was created, and we were created to support and be one, be connected and work together. And everything that we ever needed to sustain us throughout our lives in form of medicinal or medical, whatever we needed, was put here, either as a plant or etc., was put here on Earth. So for all these eons, and this goes way, way back, not just our generation, but we have been programmed from the minute we were born to live a life of be in a negative realm full of wars. And our air, our water, our food, everything has toxins in it, and these things has crystallized our pineal gland. And also it also keeps us in this 3D negative realm because we cannot raise our level of consciousness. We can't get out of the 3D realm because of all the toxins and because it dumbs us down. And they like us at a dumbed down state because we are easy to manipulate and control. And it's also a way they control our population. Yeah.
That makes me think of how a lot of people nowadays are getting away from conventional medicine and going to herbal stuff, the
Yeah.
natural things, using plants and anything in nature to help heal themselves. And a lot of times, from what I have seen, it is more successful than the conventional medicines that we have been given.
Yes. Most pharmaceutical stuff is a trial and error. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. And a lot of times they'll put you on 4 or 5 before you find one that even kind of works for you. But the point is, I hate to say this, but the powers that be, okay, and I think that the powers that be that control our world are human beings, and they are negative, dark forces, and they are very, very rich. And they control our pharmaceutical companies, they control our banking systems, our religious systems, all these things. and they cannot make
You are
money off
not
of
wrong.
healthy, intelligent human beings. So that's why they keep us using fossil fuels and keep us under their thumb, because it lines their pocketbooks and does nothing for humanity. And these things need to change. And we are at the point now, I think it's pretty obvious to the world, that if humanity doesn't wake up and start making some changes, we're going to destroy ourselves. If probably not completely, but we can make it to where there's a whole lot of suffering in our future. And there is absolutely no need for that to happen. And that's why the extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are here now. And they're here now in a big numbers and motherships. And they are not here to take over and control. They are a billion years ahead of us in evolution. All they want to do is help us get out of this negative 3D realm and become the human beings that we were created to be, and finally be free. We've never been free. We just don't even realize that we've been manipulated and pushed around like little game pieces to line the pocketbooks of the elites.
So let me ask you
Sure.
this question. I've asked a lot of people who have talked about just general aliens and UFOs, and I'm going to put this towards this one here as well. In your opinion, and you have also worked for the government yourself. You're
Yes.
in the Department of Defense, so you may be able to have a more educated um, idea than most people would. So, in terms of not just aliens, but also interdimensional beings, are we humans as a society ready to know and understand that these things do exist and are here on the planet? Are we
Yes, we
ready?
are. We are at a evolutionary pivotal moment in the history of humankind. This is the biggest event since our creation. It is the time. It has to be done now, and it has to be done in a slow process. It cannot happen like night and day. It cannot. That would overload the human brain. And this is a worldwide phenomenon. This is not about me. This is not about you. This is not about the United States. This is the whole wide world. So it has to be done in a slow, beautiful, divine way, because everybody is a part of this. This is not just for people in this ufology or paranormal field. This is not just for the people in the United States. This is not just for some certain people that are extremely smart or extremely rich. This is a worldwide phenomenon. It's about all of humanity. And that's why I like to say human beings, humanity, we are the disclosure, because extraterrestrials have been here forever. There's, paintings of them in caves. There's biblical pictures with them, portrayed. They've always been here. They've been watching over us all this time, waiting for us to reach this pivotal moment to where we understand they are not gods. They are not angels. They are
That
simply a race of
sounds like
beings that's a
myself.
billion years ahead of us in evolution. And they're not here to take over. They're simply here to lend us a helping hand, assist us, because we're playing with major technology now that would affect the whole universe. We're playing with fire, and whatever we do on this planet will ripple out into the universe and affect them too, because we are all one and we are all connected. And that's what we're going to learn through this evolutionary process, is our connections not only with Earth, every human being on Earth, but our connections within the cosmic realm and the universe as well. Uh,
One thing that you did touch up on is something that I have argued myself with a few people, how they have been here. There are
yes.
signs on this planet, and one of my favorite things is the Nazca lines.
Oh,
That
absolutely.
yeah,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
and there's other signs all over the planet. It's just that you need to pay attention.
Right.
As you're gonna,
And basically it's been right in our face, right in front of us, but we didn't put the dots over the I's. We didn't cross our T's. We didn't get it. But we are to the point where we're getting it now. And it's not just me and you. Everybody on this planet is waking up. even if they don't know what we know, they're still waking up and becoming higher levels of consciousness. Their awareness is expanding. And here's another thing. A lot of people say, why are extraterrestrials and UFOs, why are they hiding from us? They're not hiding from us. We simply can't see them. They're all over the place in our skies, and they're all over the place in our solar system. Our visual range is what limits us from not being able to see them. But our visual range is opening up, and now we're starting to see it more and more, and we're going to see it more and more. We're going to see it more. Yeah.
Because it has been proven, there is that range that we can't see.
Yeah.
The ultraviolets, the X-rays, the infrared. We cannot physically see that. We have to have devices to help us see it.
Right. And that's what the military uses. They know how to do some of these things. So they can see what we can't see, and they know that they're here. But you have to understand, too, I can understand their reluctance to come out to the world, because if they know what I know, that humans are going through an evolutionary process, and that's gonna occur and happen. So a lot of this stuff, which seems paranormal, weird, or scary now, will eventually not be that anymore, because it will be more in everyday life, and it will be occur so slow, it will seem like our life has always been that way. And that's the unique, beautiful way. It's a divine evolution. It's a divine thing. And this is all about our evolution. And all these extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are just sitting there waiting and witnessing us go through this, and hoping that we accomplish what we're capable of doing. And I think we will, because I'm a humanitarian. That's why I'm here. That's why I came to Earth, is to help humanity understand we're not alone, to understand we can have better lives. We can be better human beings. We can increase our frequencies and change the world that we live in. We don't have to live in fear of a nuclear third war or any of these things. We have the potential to change the world. And we are the generation that could go down in history as being the ones that made the change, that's made humanity powerful, strong, and last forever.
Wish that the entire world could just listen to those last 5 sentences you just said, because that is what we need.
Yes.
And I'm seeing that we got quite a few viewers right now, but nobody's commenting. So if you guys are watching this show right now, if you have any questions for Nancy, please let ask them.
Yeah. I love questions, because that kind of changes up doing podcasts. And plus it gives me an idea of what people want to know, and for us to know what to talk about, right?
Exactly. This is a very very interesting topic.
It is very
I
interesting.
just wish that your camera was working.
I know. Can you see me, or no? Not at all.
Well,
It's
it's a
froze.
picture of you. Can you see me?
Yeah, you're moving and everything. Yeah.
Okay, right now on my screen, you look like this.
Oh,
You,
wow.
you had just raised your hands, and then all of a sudden you just froze.
Yeah,
It,
I don't know what to do to try to fix that.
Normally, I would tell people to disconnect their camera and plug it back in. It all depends on what you got on your end.
Let's see. Stop cam and start over.
There you go. That'll work.
Let's see if it does. I don't seem to be.
No, it did not work.
Hmm.
It's the same. It's the same still picture there.
Is it better just to leave that right there?
It's more or less the same. Rather if you do this or if you go back to the other one,
Just
it,
tell me what you rather me do. I don't care.
no. This will be fine.
Okay.
As long as we can still hear you,
Yes. Yes.
your audio is working perfect. I just don't know what's going on with the camera.
Yeah, I'm not either. Earlier I used StreamYard and it worked fine, and I've used Zoom today and it worked fine. So I don't know. It might be on my end. Who knows?
I wonder if certain members of the government is
I
uh,
was just trying to start cam again to see if it might click, but it's not. I don't know.
not working. I wonder if certain members of the shadow government is catching on to what what you're talking about is trying to stop you for whatever reason.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but it certainly does not scare me. And I welcome anything to do with the government. I recently joined MUFON and I'm going to be an active member. And, I'm open to questions because apparently there's so much that they do not know about the interdimensionals. They thought that they knew pretty much everything about extraterrestrials, but I think they're figuring out extraterrestrials are also interdimensionals. So this whole thing is changing, and they're understanding that there's so many things that people need to know. For one, their craft are living conscious beings. They are living conscious beings. So when their pilot gets into that craft, his or her consciousness connects with the craft's consciousness, and they simply think the destination they want to go, and bam, they go. So
Right.
they do not travel like we travel. Our physics does not apply. Our propulsions and our means of travel does not apply to them. And another good example I like to give to people is what I've seen them do and experienced, and they've showed me. You and I, our technology, and by the way, they don't use the word technology. Our technology, I'm talking to you through my laptop. You're talking to me through your laptop. Our technology is a separate entity from us, right?
Right.
Like we carry it around. In their reality, their consciousness is their technology. They can manifest whatever they want, travel wherever they want through their higher consciousness. And no, they are not AI. They are biological beings,
So
and
it's
they just have the
more
ability.
telepathy, teleportation,
Yes,
um,
yes,
tele whatever they want.
yeah. Now, as far as like the vortexes and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure they have used those or still do. I don't really know. I know that they use some type of teleportation with me a lot of times, but they black me out when they start to do that because the vertigo is unreal. I would just not be able to handle it. I'm most definite sure because they woke me up as I'm walking back to the bed, and it's all I can do to get in the bed and get in. So I do know, and another thing, I don't claim to know everything. Anybody that says they know everything about this, they are lying.
Oh,
Because
that is pretty much a given.
yeah, I mean, there's no way we'll ever understand all this. We're human beings. We're not supposed to, but we're supposed to try to learn, and that's what we're doing is we're trying to figure these things out. Yeah.
I would like to circle back when we was talking about the government and that you used to work for the Department of Defense. I don't know if that department pretty much works the same way with others. So I do know that in certain areas there are like clauses in NDAs where you guys absolutely have to follow. Did you have to do the same thing for the DoD as well?
Everybody where I worked had to have a security clearance because of the fact that we were working with commanders of the Pacific Rim. I was in the Pacific Rim where I was first went, and I was a civilian, and I worked in dentistry, and I worked with generals and commanders, and also I worked with Commander Ball. He was the commander of the whole Pacific Rim at the time. So because of me interacting with that, and you have to understand, the Pacific Rim is a very secure area. It's the looking glass of what's going on in the over towards China and all those places. It's the eyeballs for the United States. So everybody that worked there had to have it, and we had to go through all this specific training, to prepare in case of a terrorist attack or all these different things. But actually, my experiences, they never asked me if I had experiences, and I never told them. Whenever I'd have a pilot or something come in that was a patient, sometimes I would ask them if they had seen anything, but they were very reluctant to talk about things. When in dental clinics on a military post, it's all open bay. There's no privacy. You can see the person next to you. There's just like chair after chair after chair. So there's not enough privacy to really have discussions like that. So it was never really a topic. The only great thing, other than the experience of doing it, that I got was for me to be around 3D imaging that they used, which later I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, and they used this 3D imaging in the endodontic department. And I was privileged enough to be able to work with this and understand that that was a very expensive, unique new technology in x-rays. And when I came back from Mexico from an excursion with my son that the interdimensional sent me on, by the way, that's when they were presenting those Nazca mummies at the Peruvian mummies at the Mexico congressional hearings. And everybody was dismissing it because of the man that was presented it. And I, on the other hand, I could care less about who was presented it. I wanted to see the evidence. And they showed 3D imaging. And I know from my experience working with this imaging, you cannot lie and cheat on these things. If it was chicken bones or dog bones and they tried to put together a mummy to make it look like something, it would stand out like a sore thumb because of the uniqueness of this technology. There is no cheating whatsoever. You cannot do that. Yeah. So everything in my life that I've ever done, I feel like the interdimensionals and extraterrestrials instigated. That was an experience they wanted me to have. And I'll also say this: what better way for them to understand what it's like to be a human being than to send someone like me to Earth? I am an incarnate from the interdimensional realm. I incarnated here from them. So what better way for them to understand what it's like, truly like to be a human, than to see it through my eyes and other people like me that have incarnated here from different races. So not only that, but it's also through my eyes when I'm up there and they're evaluating me, I'm representing Earth. I am representing Earth. And they've had me give blue orbs. You can look on my website, and they've always told me choose the color blue, everything blue. And the reason is our planet is blue. Earth is blue. And they would have me give orbs of the essence of Earth to different races. And I've got drawings where I've done that of myself, giving it to a reptilian race, different races, because, I kind of represent both worlds because both are beautiful, and Earth is worth them having an interest in. Earth is worth them helping us, and in the long run, we will be worth a great value to them because our potential is unlimited. We are basically immortal and we don't even realize it. When we die, our life is not over. We continue on and have many more experiences. This is just an experience. We're in a human vessel having a human experience. But the human experience needs to change. It needs to be where we enjoy being a human being. Right now, there's a lot of people that don't enjoy being a human being. And these things can change, and they want to help us to change.
Well, I can definitely tell you from my own experience that it feels a lot of people have described the whole hell on earth, and I really do believe that when people say, oh, when bad people die, you're going to go to hell, and I keep thinking, what if we're already in hell? Because
Yeah.
that's what it feels like sometimes.
I agree. It does feel like that. It is not, but it does feel that way. And
Yeah.
whenever I have had those feelings, they would come to me and tell me if it ever got to be too much, I could come home. But I have always chosen no, because I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, all these different things. And
Take them
having a
with you.
human experience is important. Yeah.
I would say take them with you so that they don't have to suffer.
Yeah, I know. But you have to understand, people don't realize, but we all made a choice to be here at this time. We don't remember it because when we're born on earth, our memories are erased, but we all chose to be here and at this particular time. So with that being said, that's why I say we are all a part of this. We are the disclosure because we're waking up and we're going to remember these things. We're going to figure out who we are within, not who the world around us has programmed us to be, the true inner soul self, our true selves. And then we're going to be the human beings and have the human experience that we came here for in the first place. So I think we're all here to not play the game. The elites have us playing a game, and we're like a game piece or a puppet they manipulate. We didn't come here to play their game. We're here to end their game and change the human experience into being better human beings in a better life for the future generations. And I think we're going to go down in history as being the ones that did this. Yeah.
I am always telling people I've got no tolerance for your games. Don't even try it.
Yeah.
I'm always telling people that. A whole bunch of comments popped up at one time. It seemed like we were going forever without anything, and then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of them came up at once, and they were all staggered here. There are a couple of questions here for you.
Okay.
One of them is from Carl. He's actually asking you about something that you said right at the beginning of the program. What did it feel like and look like to pass through a solid like concrete or wood?
I can remember going through it and looking around and being halfway through the ceiling and halfway in the attic and just in awe. Like, and I looked at the female gray, and she's not gray, she's reddish brown, but that's what people call them. And by the way, there's over 60 different races of grays. But anyway, I looked at her and I was like, how are you doing this? And she didn't answer me or anything. Some of these things we just have to figure out on our own. We have to figure it out. It's just like the caterpillar that turns into the beautiful butterfly. It's a process, and that's what we are. We are just having to go up the DNA ladder and climb up until we reach our full potential, just like a caterpillar changes and goes through different cycles to become the beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, what is that called? Like metamorphosizing or something?
Yes, yes. And I think that's Carl Bitter that you're talking to. Hello, Carl. Yeah.
So, do you actually feel anything
Oh,
when?
I feel everything, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't, it just happens, and to be honest with you, when that is happening to you, all you think about, your mind is in awe, and you're just exploring with your eyes and exploring with your hands, wanting to touch things, because that's how you gain your affirmation that it's real and that it's happening, is by touching things.
So if you have something in your hands or under your arms, and you phase through one of these things, does it go with you or do they stay behind?
Well, I've never tried that, because the only thing I've ever done, when I know I have the ability, I know before they're going to manifest in a room where I am. I can feel it. My frequency changes in my body. And what the only thing that I do is, I, when I was younger and scared, I would pull the covers up over my eyes, and pull it up tight. But and then they would like pull the covers back down off of me, and then start to do the run this scanner around, up and down around my body, which didn't touch my body, but it was going above it, up and down. But anyway, so I've never carried anything with me, and I've never tried to, you know, do anything like that. I have tried to record, do recordings like in my room, stuff like that. But those things don't work. you know, if they want you to know something, they're not.
It's
They
not.
know that you do these things. They know that you. They know these things. And I've even been on craft and wanted to try to find something, but I ended up not doing it because they have trust and faith in me, and I have trust and faith in them. And I would never, ever do anything to break that bond, never. They are family to me. They are family to me. Yeah.
Yeah, because breaking trust with anybody, no matter what they are, humans, animals, anything.
Yes. And
Uh,
I'm not here to
hard
prove,
to have that
try
happen.
to, prove anything or impress anybody. And I'm not telling everybody they should believe what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is my experiences. And what I'm telling you is to look within your heart. Remember who you are, who your soul self is. Ask your subconscious to open up into your human consciousness, give it permission to release the information to you, and figure out who we are within and start raising our frequency and start trying to be a better human being. And then as we start raising our frequency, we will be rewarded. They've rewarded me from my, trying to raise my frequency and trying to do the right things. They have rewarded me, especially in times that I need a little reassurance. But that was meant for me. That wasn't meant for the world. And I would never break my trust and bond with them to try to show off or let my ego take over and ruin it, because it's not worth it to me, you know.
There's a lot of people that I know who would let their ego take over.
Oh, I know that, but
Yeah,
that's why they don't interact with them, because it is a love and a bond and a trust that is earned. And it took me, a long time to get to this point. It
mhm.
took me a long time. And the 30-year-old girl that was having these experiences is not the same woman that I am now. My understanding, my spiritual growth, my frequency is higher. It's a process. It's an evolutionary change. They kickstarted me and helped me to understand these things, but I made a decision to come to Earth to do this. This is my mission. This is why I'm here. And they showed me visions of myself making this choice to come to Earth and be part of this evolutionary process. And my oldest son is just as equally has the experiences and the Kundalini awakenings and the face-to-face contacts that I have. It is a family mission with us, and my youngest son has the same thing, but it is not. He is not as focused in on it like my oldest son and I are. Yeah,
Yeah, no two children are ever alike, especially
right.
when it comes to following a parent's footsteps.
Yes, and everybody's on their own spiritual path, and you can't push people any quicker than they want to be. Everybody's got family members that don't necessarily agree and think like you do. Doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that you have some different opinions, or that your understanding is different than their understanding. But you learn to play in the same sandbox together.
That is true, and that's how people try to get along. You described that the people that we call grays, the ones that you are interacting with, are like a reddish brown, right?
Yes, I've seen the gray ones too, but they were 3 foot tall.
Okay, so with the reddish brown one, this leads to an interesting question that Charles had come up with, and it actually makes perfect sense the way that he was asking this. How does Bigfoot, Sasquatch fit in with what you're telling us, and with other things that you're telling us? Do they also include other cryptids around the world?
Yes, they are interdimensional beings, and they come in and out of our 3D realm. And I have actually been on a craft that was a group of different race of extraterrestrials and interdimensionals, different ones, but they were all explorers. And these explorers were looking for cryptids, or they didn't call them cryptids to me at the time. The way that I understood it, they were creatures that had jumped over a dimension and they were creating havoc here on Earth or another planet, and their task was to go locate them, collect them, and then take them back to where they belong, to their natural home. So I understand this, and I witnessed this and watched it. And what I saw was kind of it was a cat-like creature, between a cat and a fox type creature, that I saw them collect and contain and relocate. But they also look for as long as Bigfoot is okay to come visit here, as long as it doesn't interfere with humanity. And when I say that, I mean create havoc. If they're not creating havoc, they leave them alone, as long as they're, doing their thing and everything's happy and good. But it's only when it creates some type of conflict or creates a problem. Either it could be one of two things. Either humans are acting too aggressive towards them, and then they would relocate them because they want to keep them safe, or either maybe some Bigfoots are getting a little too curious about some humans and they'll relocate them, because they're not demonic. They're not bad. They're beautiful, loving creatures, but they're curious about humans sometimes. And then we have human beings that won't leave them alone, So a lot of times they'll move them for that reason too, because they really they really don't want to interact with us. Some will, but it would take a long time for them to feel secure and bond with us for them to really ever do that. And some, from what I understand, some have. Yeah.
Well, with human society, we are a very curious species.
We're very aggressive too, and that's kind of
Yeah,
scary. Yeah.
yeah, it is. We are extremely aggressive to the point where sometimes I wonder how, as a society, we have even survived this point.
Well, that's why we have to go through this evolutionary process, because if we do not, and we stay in this negative 3D realm that we're in, and with the elites controlling us, and with these wars and things going on, and they make money off of wars, so they don't mind having the wars, but
Oh,
it does affect the rest of us. It affects the rest of us, not in a very negative way. Our humanity will not be the same 10 years from now that it is right now. I'm not saying that we will wipe ourselves out, because interdimensionals and extraterrestrials would never let that happen. And I'll explain why that is in a minute. But, it could be to the point to where we go back to like our primitive days. We could do a lot of damage and change the quality of our life, something awful. So, you know, we have to go through this evolutionary period for us to be able to keep humanity going, keep human beings going, and to become the beings we were created to be. We have to change. We need new ways of thinking, new ways of living, and none of these things can happen overnight. It has to be done in a slow, divine way, because it is for all of humanity, not just selected few.
well, depending on what happens in November this year, this could
Yeah.
end up
Yeah.
wiping half of it out.
Yeah. Well, that's another indication of why I think that they're reaching out to humanity. Humanity is really big in numbers. I'm talking about the world. And I am trying to do podcasts all over the world. I don't limit myself to the United States. I want to meet other people that are potentially know what I know, have experienced what I experienced, or if nothing else, people that are interested in knowing. And I'm doing podcasts all over the world every chance I get.
Well, I can definitely tell you that the Thames Network, we've got viewers all over. We got viewers in Asia, Europe,
Yeah.
Australia. So anybody that'll stumble upon this show and watch it would be from any of those countries.
Yes. And please, I ask any of you listeners, please recommend me to other hosts in your areas, because I am more than willing to talk about this and get the information out there, because this is a worldwide phenomenon, and it's going to take all of humanity, every single one of us, working towards this, working within, changing who we are, start within, and then working outward from there, and trying to be more positive, trying to be, less dependent upon negative news. This does not mean that we don't believe that there is bad things going on in the world. It means that we're not going to prioritize on the negative aspects of the world. We're going to remember the beautiful things too. Remember all the beautiful things that our planet has to offer. And every time we have a negative thought, replace it with two positive, and eventually it will become a habit. And we'll learn to the way I understand it is that the less attention we give to the news and the media, eventually they have nobody to pay attention to them, and there's nobody to perform for.
Mhm.
So if we put our focus into better things, it will work in our favor.
Well, Mother Earth, just alone is a beautiful thing. When you look at
Yes,
everything everywhere, even
yes,
some of the natural disasters, as bad as they are spectacular things to witness.
yes. But you have to understand, our planet is dealing with a negative frequency all around from all of us human beings. Okay. It affects all of the environment, it affects our planet, and it affects all animals. Our animals, our planet, everything is a living conscious being. So when we finally get on the right frequency and connect with them, I can't even begin to tell you what this world and our planet would be like with all of us cooperating and working together. We will be unstoppable. That's why we're so unique and beautiful. We have the potential to connect with every living thing on this planet, including our planet. And if we cooperate with her, she will cooperate with us. It is unbelievable what we will experience in our futures if we play our cards right.
It's funny when you talk about connecting with everything on this planet. One of the things that does connect everybody on this planet that can be a beautiful thing right now is the internet, is social media. But at the same time, it is the very thing that is destroying or threatening to destroy humanity.
Well, I had a talk with the interdimensionals, or they had a talk with me really about AI technology, and that if we can get ourselves into a higher dimension and start minimizing any negative aspects that we can, and all of them won't happen overnight, but start working at it, that AI will not destroy all jobs. It will create jobs we never even thought of. It will create new jobs. And in our future, the visions that they show me is that we will not even call it jobs. We are going to call it service to self, service to community, service to my family. And we will spend less hours working, and we will use AI to generate things that we need that we will not have to pay for. We can use it for all of humanity. It has to be for all of humanity, and it's a man-made tool. They told me it was a man-made tool. It is made by man, created by man. We have to keep it as a man-made tool. We are in charge. Use our higher intelligence and use it wisely to benefit all, you know. And again, we can't do these things overnight, but we have to start somewhere. And the time is now. We have to start thinking ahead about our futures, because I think that's part of the problem for the past 80, 70 years. They thought, well, I'm not going to worry about this because we'll die before any of this comes into play. But the problem is, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Our world is changing. We are changing. We are going through evolution. It is time, and we need to start working on ourselves individually and getting involved in our communities in any way possible to start being better human beings and trying to influence others to be good without being over aggressive about it, of course.
Over aggressive.
Yeah.
So many people. Well, there goes Instagram. Well, Instagram kicks off all shows once they hit the 1 hour mark, and that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
So we're actually going to have to wrap this up because the next show
Okay.
we on now. Um, but we'll still take a couple minutes. Um, but yeah, humanity right now is overly aggressive. They are what we are very selfish as well.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of us out there that want that change, that want that uh, goodness. Um, it's just it's just that the the selfish ones are the ones that are actively trying to keep us from achieving that.
Exactly. And it needs to be the opposite. We have to wake up. We need to be the change we want to see. We can create our own reality. If we want a better world, we got to start being better ourselves. It starts within. We have to start within and then work outwards towards including our family, then friends, and then whoever else that might be interested. And different people will wake up at different times and want to start doing these things. We just have to be patient and let evolution run its course.
Well, we are definitely due for another stage of that evolution because on Supernatural Talk just last week, one of the things that we was talking about was how humans had gone from this species of humans up to another species,
Yes,
up to Neanderthals,
yes.
to our current
It was,
stage of Homo sapiens.
yeah, it was a great leap, you know. But see, here's the difference. Now they didn't know they were going through the big leap, you know. And that's what's so beautiful about this is by the time we get to the end of it, it's going to seem like our world has always been this way, and that's what happened to them. The difference now is we're a whole lot smarter than we were back then. We know it's occurring. This is big. This is momentous. This is the biggest thing since our creation. This is big. Yeah.
Well, back then, and this is something that I have argued about, even with the interpretation. Well, not the interpretation, but the way that the writers of the Bible
Yeah.
wrote things down is that this is how they understood because
Yeah.
nothing like this had ever happened before. So anything that happened back then, rather
Right.
than happen that way literally or in a different way, they could only be able to understand it to the best that they could, and they
They
wrote.
did the best they could. That was their interpretation at the time. And we have to look at these things and not be angry or mad or upset. It is part of our evolutionary process. Just like when we're born, we have to fall before we learn to walk. We had to make mistakes to get us where we are today, but we are here now. And it's what we do from here on out is what matters because we do have more intelligence to make better decisions. Yeah.
Right. And if everything that happened in the Bible then happened now, we
Yeah.
would be looking at it in a completely different way than they did back
Absolutely.
then.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it would be totally different. You're right.
Yeah.
They did the best they could at the time, and there was nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. You know, that was
Yeah.
just part of the process of who we are.
Mhm. And plus, back then, through all the language translations, something is going to change during that process. So it's like word of mouth. But let's say I come up to you and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy this little Matchbox car, a
Yeah.
collector's item." 50 people later, hey, he just bought a Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
So
the story changes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's how I equate it to all these translations because this is over 2,000 years worth of translations here.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's just the way humans do. I mean, we humanize everything and we make the stories more interesting as we go. You know, that's we're natural storytellers, you know.
yeah. Well, I can definitely tell you I am a storyteller. I write full time. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Nancy, it is so great having you on this
Thank
show.
you.
This hour just flew like it was nothing.
Thank
It's
you for having me. I really do appreciate it. I would not be able to do my life mission, my soul mission without people like you. So I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, thank you very much for having me. And I think everybody should just work on themselves and try to be a better human being the best way you can. We're not perfect, we're human beings. All we have to do is try and make the efforts and let evolution run its course and stay on course. And all of us stay strong and never give up on humanity.
and we're going to be having you on Supernatural Talk in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
August 15th. That's one of my other shows, but I will not actually be on that one.
Okay.
I will be having surgery the week before, and
Oh, well,
I'm not going to be camera ready for about 2 months.
okay. Well, I hope you have a good result from that. I'm sure it will be fine, but I'll
Oh,
be thinking about you for sure. Yes.
hoping so too. But the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to be able to have this opportunity to talk to you one on one, so
Thank
that
you.
I can
Yeah.
ask you my own questions, and you'll be talking with Adrian and Nick, who are two of the other show hosts. I don't know if Eileen will be on at the time, and Eileen's the one who lives in Mississippi.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Encourage her to come. I'd love to have a chat, be part of it, and to know a fellow Mississippian. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying. She's trying. It's just that
Yeah.
her work is just so demanding right now.
Yeah, I understand. Well, maybe it'll work out and that would be wonderful. I look forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
But Adrian and Nick, they're going to have their own questions. Nick especially because he dives into everything paranormal. You're going to enjoy.
Yeah, I don't mind talking those things. I've seen Bigfoot before, and I've also seen a ghost before.
And
So,
you'll actually have 2 hours on that show because that show is
oh
so.
wow, yeah. Well, I'm a talker, so that'd be fun.
So you're going to have plenty of opportunity
Yes, thank
and
you so much.
be able to get into some things that you weren't able to get into on this show.
Yeah.
So and Charles also said he's going to get you on with some people that he knows. I've got a network full of show hosts, and I'm sure would love to pick you up.
Oh, I would love to be on all shows. Anybody that speaks English, sign me up. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I look at that, and I don't think we're going to have a problem with that on this network.
Yeah, thank you so much. I do appreciate it, and I will not let y'all down. I will not.
We would definitely get you on some of the other shows. Again, Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure. Learned a few things. I
Good.
definitely did not know about the whole phasing through solid objects. So that's
Wow. Yeah.
I thought something like that would only be possible with like a.
Yeah. This is what's so good about the communication, but having this communication open and where experiencers can ask questions, and it's wonderful. This is what we need. And thank you so much for doing what you're doing. It makes a difference in the world. It really does.
We can only do what we can do.
Yeah. All right. I'll get out of your hair, but thanks again. Thank you very much.
Thank
Everyone
you.
have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend, and stay safe.
And everybody out there in the audience, thank you so much for playing along. And I will try to have this show on next week. I am working on a guest. I'm waiting on word here in the next couple of days, see if I'll have an episode or not. But until then, thank you again to Nancy, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good night.